Hey everyone, welcome to the Wealth Preservation Podcast. As always, Mark Seither here, and I am here with my co-host Josh Saunders. Josh, how are you?
I am doing great. Super excited to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. Tennessee, entrepreneurship, and chili peppers. Three things I absolutely love. So we're excited to get this episode going.
Yes. I am definitely one to go for the chili peppers, whether it's pizza or whatever bland food is out there. I like it. I like it spiced up. So, well, today we have a local Tennessean who has the Tennessee Chili Pepper Company. Chris and Allyson Virden. Chris, Allyson, how are you guys doing?
Doing really well, thanks.
Doing great.
Perfect.
So real quick, I'll start with a quick story for the two of you that relates to chili peppers. When I was 9 or 10, I got to go on a trip to New Orleans with my grandfather. He was a food salesperson, and we got to go tour the Tabasco factory in New Iberia. So I had all things Tabasco. I think I even had a pair of Tabasco boxer shorts at one time. So I love the chili peppers. It's exciting stuff.
Well, maybe one day you can have a pair of Olde Virden's boxers.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for them to come out.
Well, depends. Do you mean like Olde Virden Tennessee Chili Pepper Company boxers, or do you mean Chris Virden's boxers?
Yeah, no thanks on those.
Definitely Olde Virden's Tennessee Pepper Company boxers.
Okay. Just want to clarify. I don't want any package to come in the mail like, hey, Mark, you said you wanted this. Like, no, that's not what I meant.
Yeah, I guess if the price is right.
Yeah, I mean,
We're entrepreneurs. It could take us in a whole different direction.
Yeah. You guys are being a whole new business model you didn't even know existed.
yeah, that would be really frightening. Yeah. There'd be no return address on that package.
Awesome. Well, before we kick off here and start learning about how you guys developed your company and kind of the story behind Olde Virden's, give our listeners a quick snapshot of what your company is, when you were founded, and where you're based out of.
So we got started about 7 years ago. We are a chili pepper company. We have a local farmer who grinds all the peppers for us, grows peppers for us, and then we dry them, grind them, crush them, bottle them, distribute them. We do everything but sprinkle it on the pizza for you. But I'd probably do that too.
That also comes at a premium.
Yeah, exactly. It's our gold standard package. But we've got now several blends. For the most part, we are no additives, no fillers, no sodium. We try and dry the peppers same day they're picked, so it's super fresh. It's locally sourced. It's really kind of different from anything else out there. And so that's kind of where we're at. We've got a small facility right on the edge of Knoxville, and our farmer's probably 30 minutes from here. So, from field to dehydrator, it's a pretty short trip.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. So, how did you get started in the Smokies? Where was that, were you guys were from originally, or is that just kind of where you ended up, or how did that start?
Well, I came to UT in 1988 and went to college for a little while. So I kind of came up here from Alabama. So I was in this area to begin with, and in 2000 sold a business closed a business that I had originally to go hike the Appalachian Trail. And Chris and I met hiking the AT in 2000. And so somehow this Maryland boy ended up back in Tennessee.
Nice dude.
Hit him over the head and drug him back. So we had made friends with a gentleman who owns a place called the Comp Lodge in the Smokies. It's a hiking lodge. And so in 2003, Chris and I went up to become the resident managers there, which we did for 12 years. So in 2013, we had a crew who loved hot sauce. I was the cook. Chris and I managed the crew. But we had a crew who loved hot sauce. So every meal they would bring out, tons of hot sauces to go with different meals.
They had a little caddy.
Yeah, we had made a little caddy. They had so many bottles that were open.
So much. I love it.
And so we had pizza. We did a thing where we would make like homemade pizza and have beer and have a crew pizza night. And we noticed that, or Chris noticed that night, they didn't bring the hot sauce out. They brought the generic crushed red pepper out.
Yeah. So, it was really kind of odd to me. So I'm looking at this thing of crushed red pepper and, I started thinking about it. And, you've been out for pizza like thousands of times. And every restaurant, it has that same generic bottle of crushed red pepper on the table.
Yep.
And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, we've got a million hot sauces, but there's just generic crushed red pepper. And so, it really stuck with me. And I'm like, I can name, 4 different types of mayonnaise, probably 10 different types of mustard, same with ketchup, basically any condiment. I can tell you what I think is probably number one in the country or whatever. But pizza, which everybody eats and everyone goes out for pizza, it's like this major condiment that millions of people use every day. And no one thought, man, I should put my name on that or
Make a better version
of that or whatever. So, I was thinking about it and I thought, well, surely there's got to be like a better version. Maybe pizza restaurants are just too cheap to buy like the best version of this. So I went down to the grocery store and I'd run over to the spice aisle and I'd look for it. And, there was like McCormick's and then there was like the grocery store brand but there wasn't anything like that. It was just generic crushed red pepper. And so, a couple more trips down and more grocery store visits, I thought, and there just really isn't anything. So, I'm one of those people who like is always trying to find a better way to do something or I've kind of, I'm always like thinking of new inventions or stuff like that. And I was joking that my wife's like Dr. No's wife, like, hey, we should do that now, And so, I'd come up with these ideas and she'd be like, nah, well, this one, I was kind of used to it. And so I said, that the pizza shaker thing, like, I really think we could make a better version of that. And here's why. And so, I'm making my elevator pitch, which was considerably longer then. And so she's like, yeah, you should go do that. And suddenly I'm like the dog with the car. Like, well, what do I do now? And so I was like, okay, all right, yeah, I'm going to do that. And so my next day's off to get to the road. I hiked down the mountain and went to every grocery store I could find and bought all these peppers and borrowed a friend's dehydrator and dried them all and invited a friend over and we ordered a cheese pizza and got a 6-pack of Miller High Life, and that was really the beginning.
That's your
good stuff.
Your R&D department right there, research and development. Just hey, we bought some pizzas.
But about 6 months after that, we would go around town with little baggies of like different blends. So anytime we'd go into pizza places or restaurants with friends, we'd bring out these baggies that kind of looked a little suspicious.
Yeah, they were kind of downsized.
Some black market pizza spices.
Yes.
Allyson, I hope that you kept a list of all the inventions that you turned down from Chris. I'd love to read that list.
The subliminal message tie for waiters.
Yeah.
That says tip on it in small letters.
Yeah. There was a movie theater popcorn butterer.
All kinds of stuff.
The automatic banana peeler.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that that is a sometimes entrepreneurship can be that simple, right? Like, hey, I want something else on my pizza and no one's doing it. I'm just gonna go buy all the peppers. I'm gonna buy all the peppers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna very shadily bring them into pizza parlors and try them on pizza.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, hey, I kind of want to take a little step back. Because Chris, sounds like you always have the wheels turning on entrepreneurship and inventions, and just kind of see like, hey, I mean, when you were younger, was that also something? Were you kind of that born entrepreneur? Were you just we're always trying to sell your buddies on the playground something? And Allyson, kind of you too. I mean, were you kind of a born entrepreneur?
No, I mean, I certainly wasn't. I was the kind of person, I waited tables and bartended. So, I think that more than anything really like taught me, if you want to make money, you've really got to hustle, and you've got to just keep at it and keep refining your craft and and I think as far as entrepreneurship, it's kind of the same thing. Like, the tables aren't going to wait themselves. You've really got to run it. And I think I've just taken that mentality, into the, entrepreneur world. And, that's really what it takes, to be able to look at your section or your business and see what needs attention right away and how you can streamline it, make it work better, and how you can serve more people.
Yeah.
I just kind of fell into it, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I definitely, at the age of 13, took a babysitting first aid course, which is when my mom turned me loose to be able to babysit, and I made business cards and passed them out at church. So nice. I would say at the age of 13 is probably my start to entrepreneurship. Then I had a newspaper route, and I opened up my first business at the age of 26. So.
Oh wow! What business did you do at 26?
I owned I had previously for the 6 years prior had worked in an outdoor store selling backpacking equipment and mountain bikes, and opened up in '96 opened up a store in Sevier County selling backpacking equipment and mountain bikes, and that's the one that I closed down in 2000 and went to hike the AT at. If I decided I was too young to be tied down like that, and so
that makes sense. Yeah. So, I mean, when you guys met on the AT, was that like a big point of conversation? Like, we should. What are your thoughts on peppers, and what do you think about marrying a pepper mogul? Is that kind of how that went down on the trail?
Work for 6 months and travel for 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely. If you had told me I would have been in the pepper business, working 7 days a week, I would have been like, what? No.
Yeah.
well, no.
Yeah.
You're a business owner. You can take whatever time you want off, right? I mean,
yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out how friends of mine who have their own businesses take vacations.
I tell people all the time, like, if you've got a food idea and you want to take it to market, if you come talk to me, I'll talk you out.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, like, if I'd known what I didn't know then, I might have gone and done something else. I mean, there's so much stuff stacked against you as far as getting in the grocery store business for small businesses. Unless you're really capitalized, it's really daunting. Mm-hmm. But no one ever told me that, so I was like, "Woo, let's do it." I mean, how hard could it be? My product's good, and there's
that's that entrepreneurship optimism.
Oh
yeah. With just a little twinge of crazy, in there.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we opened up 2 businesses in the same year, so we're especially crazy.
Yeah, you guys are full on nuts, like psycho ward type stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, so, when you guys were, first starting out, was it like, hey, this is a good idea? Did you guys do a whole bunch of market research, or was it like, hey, we got peppers, people should want to buy peppers? I mean, did you guys kind of see a market out there, or how'd that work out?
I am the one who does a lot of the research.
Sure.
I tend to be Chris just dives in, and I'm the one who says, hang on, let's, I will eventually say, yes, let's do it. But I'm definitely the one that kind of does the research and figures things out. And so
she makes sure it's the deep end of the pool before we
Nice.
That is a definitely a good quote. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
that's awesome.
I honestly, the research that I did helped me as far as pricing and just kind of learning a little bit more about the consumer packaged good in business.
Sure.
It did not really shed light on just how hard it actually is. And
Yeah.
I guess a good story to tell you to kind of show this was, so we started the business full time in 2015. In 2017, we sat down with a guy who is he works as a broker, but we had a meeting with him, and in our discussion, he had a good history with this in the CPG industry. Tells us that most consumer packaged good brands start with about $1 million in capital, and that's to like really get yourself on the shelves and get yourself situated, kind of buy in to play the game.
Right.
So at that time, Chris and I
we were like, what?
$1 million? Because we started our business with $10,000,
right,
and not knowing a single thing about this industry. So, I would say not having that barrier in front of us and that knowledge kept us like moving forward. If somebody had said that to us in 2015, we probably would have been like, well, we can't do this.
Yeah, I mean, it would cost too much money. Like,
right.
We didn't realize that, you can get into grocery stores without paying slotting fees and without doing free fill. And, you just have to work it and constantly be trying to figure out, ways to get yourself in there. And,
Gotcha.
People tell you no all the time. And like lots of grocery stores are like, no, we're not interested. The thing that we had going for us is really, there wasn't anything like our product, like just a blend of peppers with no salt or sugar. So we pitch it and they'd be like, wow, that is kind of new for spices and this category. And I feel for people who like have their own barbecue sauce or salad dressing or, all those products. I mean, there's so much competition in those categories that, they get pitched that stuff over and over and over again. So,
gotcha.
Unless your barbecue rub like cures COVID in addition to tasting good on ribs, I mean, it's really hard to get it on the shelf.
Right. Yeah.
We would have people all the time say to us, why don't you make your own rub, and why don't you make a hot sauce? And our answer was, we found something that's different and we're good at it and we specialize in it. Whereas, why would we want you to take our product and add it to your rub? Like, I don't, that's
sure.
People who really grill and who really are connoisseurs as far as that. I mean, they all have their own barbecue sauce recipe and their secret rub recipe. Well, we want to be a part of that. We don't want to like
compete in the rub market.
Right.
Gotcha. Right. Yeah. That's a very saturated market. Yeah. Every barbecuer has the best rub. Ask them.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll tell you all about it.
Yeah. So, kind of like, let's look at what was that? When was talk about that moment of we're going to do this moment? Like, was it you guys sitting in a room full of dehydrated chilies and being like, okay, I guess we're going to sell these now? Or when was it like, we're actually going to turn this into a business? And what was that conversation like?
I mean, as far as this, in 2013, we realized that it was time for us to come off the mountain, off LeConte Lodge and retire.
Okay.
What we thought was going to happen there wasn't going to happen. So we figured, what, we're retired up here because this hiking lodge, it's accessible only by hiking. You're there for 8.5 months and you get a week off each month. So you're stuck up there for the most part. And, you miss birthdays, you miss family gatherings, you miss reunions, you miss weddings. And it just got to the point where after 11 years, we were tired.
Sure.
And we didn't see a future at it anymore. And so we decided, we had gone as far as we could go, and we decided it was time to do something different. So we spent 2013 up there trying to figure out what we wanted to do. So Chris came up with this idea in the fall of 2013. And then we spent that winter really diving into the business, getting getting the original blend down and figuring that out, and then deciding that, you know what, we're going to make a go at this. So we gave our boss a year notice. I mean, we worked out the season of 2014. So we kind of worked part-time at this, at Olde Virden's when we came off the mountain. So it kind of gave us a year to kind of slowly, test the waters and see
if it was viable.
Yeah, like we would do farmers markets on our days off and kind of get feedback from people, and people loved the product. And so, we just decided, we gave our notice, and we were like, all right, let's do this. So we just decided to jump in and clean out our 401k, and
which was a lot to begin with.
Yeah. And Mark and I always talk to entrepreneurs. There's always like this misnomer, if you spend much time on the entrepreneurship on Facebook or LinkedIn, of like, just go for it and follow your dream and throw caution to the wind, and
you'll never lose if you bet on yourself. It's like, that's not true.
That's
Right. Well, to be honest, and to be completely upfront about this, the only reason that we were able to do this was because we don't have children.
Yeah.
So, for us just to be like, we're going to quit our jobs and our insurance and, going to try this. We don't have kids. So we didn't, if we starved, and we could always go back and wait tables.
Sure.
Yeah. It wasn't like, we're canceling Christmas this year. Yeah. I mean, we did.
Yeah.
Like, you just cancel Christmas with less tears. That's fewer tears
around
Christmas time.
Vacations, all Christmases, all anniversaries.
Yeah. We just kept throwing it, and kept working at it, and I will say what really kept us going is we kept getting really, really good feedback. Like, people would be like, man, I bought that stuff, and they'd come back the next week and say, man, I put it on my pizza. It was amazing. And so,
or my kids stole it out of my cabinet.
Yeah, like
to take to college with them. So we got to buy another bottle.
Yeah. So I knew, like, right then, everyone thinks their product's great, and which you kind of have to. But I knew from just hearing from strangers that it wasn't just my imagination or all that we really had a good idea, and it was going to take some work, but that part we had down. So
gotcha.
We started there.
Now,
and then
go ahead. Sorry.
No, after you.
Well, I was going to say, because it seems like there's a pretty big commitment there of like, hey, we're going to clean out our 401ks. We're leaving, the job that we worked at for a long time. Did you guys have people who were kind of, right next to you, either cheering you on or on the other side of the fence saying like, hey, terrible idea, don't do this, go back to waiting tables before you do this?
No, our parents and our family have been the most supportive people. I mean, and I'll tell you, I'll be honest, 7 years, there have been a lot of tears shed. A lot of like, what the hell have we done? Like, how are we moving forward? We worked 3 jobs. Like I said, we did open up another business at the time too. So keeping that going, working another job to make a paycheck. Our family the entire time was 100% behind us.
Yeah. They might have been like, man, you're working 7 days a week for like years on end, is it all worth it? And I'm like, we're working all the time, but at the same time, it just felt good. Like I was working for myself, and I could see where I wanted to go, and I could see the potential. So it was hard. Still is, but I felt like I was going in the right direction. So, it's like anything. You just have to really, you've got to put your time in. It's not a TV show where everything's going to come to conclusion at the end of an hour. It's going to take a while.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So after you decided to do it, what were kind of some of those initial struggles and some things that you're like, wow, I didn't see this being so hard. We didn't really plan for this, or wow, why is accounting so difficult? Or, some of those things, like, what was that? Was it just the packaged goods industry in itself, or what were some of those difficulties?
The biggest thing was that first winter in 2015 when we went full time, was just trying to get restaurants interested or a grocery store.
Okay.
You know, we were able to get into some of the really small local places,
Right.
but just trying to get people interested and being told, well, not right now, or yeah, we'll think about it. Or, I mean, I remember just bawling one day, just thinking, you know, how are we going to get people to buy this and put it in their grocery or to get it into the restaurants? You know, I guess for me, I just thought it was just going to happen like right off the bat.
I mean,
Right.
yeah, I mean, well, you know, tell you your product's great. You know, people don't understand. You go into a grocery store and look around, there's no empty space. Like,
Right.
if you want your product on a shelf, you got to knock somebody off a shelf.
Right.
And,
Right. Gotcha.
you know,
The grocery store doesn't, I mean, they hear it from, I mean, every entrepreneur, every food manufacturer comes in there, says their product is great. What they want to know is numbers. But if you haven't been in a grocery store, well, how do you have numbers?
Right.
Like
Gotcha.
what, you don't have numbers to tell them of sales. You don't have these figures. So it really took a couple of years of like learning, and we hounded one of our local grocery stores, bigger box stores, which the general manager was amazing and finally put us on the shelf. And it was so cool because I could go in there and shop and see people picking up our product and looking at it.
we totally.
Yeah, we would totally like check like
Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard that's really good.
stalker-esque. But
Yeah.
us being in there gave us some figures to go with, and eventually we got into 100 and it was like 120 of their stores, which was our first big chain. So
That's awesome.
you know, it just kind of it took little pieces like that, and then we got into the Whole Foods in Knoxville, and
It
then
took us like 3 years to get them to finally say yes.
Yeah.
Like there
Yeah.
was a guy who worked there who was like, yeah, no, not interested. And I think he eventually retired.
the buyer.
Or strangely disappeared. And
And that was the thing to learn was that, you know, I mean, you could get momentum going, and then all of a sudden that buyer could retire, and the other buyer just didn't care about your product, and then all of a sudden you were dead in the water.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
when we had Whole Foods, I mean, they lost their application 3 different times, and their applications are like, I mean, textbook. I mean, it's insane.
I would have
Kroger's-
gone. Yeah.
Kroger's applications, you have to watch a video to be able to understand how to fill out like most of it.
Gotcha.
For the record,
Wow.
we're in Kroger and Whole Foods.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it wasn't. We figured it out. But yeah, like kids complaining about their college applications. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Of course, they might not quite understand the reference. If you're like, man, if you think college applications are bad, you should try and get a red pepper company that's locally sourced into Kroger. Man.
Wish I had your problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and that is one of those things too, where, you know, like for you guys, you said, hey, it took us 3 years. I mean, so many people look at that and they're like, oh, you know, 3 years seems like a short amount of time. And you're like, okay, when you're in the mix of it, that 3 years feels like an eternity, right? And there's just, I mean, within that 3 years, I mean, I shouldn't ask if there was. I should ask how many times were there moments where you guys were just like, all right, well, I guess we're just done. Like, this is just it. I mean, did you guys have those moments in that first 3 years where you're like, let's just wrap up shop and go hiking back to that you know, hiking cabin?
No.
Not really. I mean, you know, it's one of those things like, you know, you start climbing, you know, you get to a point where it's like, I've come this far. I'm not turning around. You know, I mean, hard, but
We climbed Kilimanjaro. If we can do that, we can freaking get this thing going.
yeah,
Come on.
you know, I mean,
Yeah.
we met like in the AT, so you know, we were used to, you know, a long slog and all that, and you know, that's part of it. You know, you just really have to realize that if you're starting a small business or whatever, that you know, it's going to take a while. Like, you know, there's very few businesses, at least I've come across, that just take off overnight or any of that. It's a grind, but you know, if you believe in it and you're working for yourself, and you know, it's manageable.
I tell you, listening to podcasts and listening to other entrepreneurs and how they build their businesses and the stories were huge for us.
Yeah.
We would listen to all these different podcasts and hear these stories, and we were like,
oh my god,
oh my God, we're not the only ones. And one of these days when we're on a podcast, these are the stories we're going to tell.
Man, so for our listeners, I just want to point out I did not pay them to say that line for this podcast that interviews entrepreneurs and their stories of how they built their business.
Yeah.
They were huge in helping us keep moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, it was, you realize like you're not the only ones. I mean, there was, I think it was Sir Kensington's, he was talking about starting his ketchup business, and that one really struck a chord with us, just realizing that, it's not just us as far as like how hard it is to, bring a food to market. But, it's doable, and you just have to keep at it and not take it personally. Like so many people, it's like if the, grocery buyer's like, yeah, I don't want to pick up your product. It's okay. That's fine. I'll just go ask, one of the other 35,000 grocery stores that haven't told me no.
Yeah, haven't told me no. Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So when was that point, you guys started in kind of 2015 when you were like, hey, I think this is actually going to be a thing. Like I think we're kind of over the hump. We have some momentum, we can eat less top ramen noodles and, or at least, or we can, at least get the shrimp. We can get the shrimp ramen noodles instead of just the chicken.
I would say one of them was when Earth Fair. It's a local grocery that's in the southern region. They right now I think they have 50 different stores.
Okay.
But they contacted us about doing an open. They were bringing in local, regional brands. And when we sat down with one of the vice presidents of the buying section, and we, gave our elevator pitch. I mean, he was like, this is great. Like, if this product is amazing and the story is amazing, and he just kept going on and on and on. And I remember that day when we left there.
Oh yeah, we were like, driving home,
and like, man, this is all right. We're gonna be okay. Like this is,
Yep. Tell the rest.
Yeah. So was that then celebration? Did you get some more Miller Lite? Was that how that?
I think we went out to a big dinner. But the funny thing is so we're waiting for Earth Fair to call, and we're waiting, and then we found out that guy got transferred to a different company.
Oh,
you wouldn't happen to have the name and number of his new company, would you?
Right.
Yeah.
We did end up getting into Earth Fair, but it just took a little bit longer because we didn't have that guy there pushing stuff.
There was a lot
champion.
of humanity, months down the road, But I will say, like, a couple of big breaks that we realized we were going to be able to do this. We had a Kickstarter campaign to get a real commercial dehydrator, and that was successful. We raised, I think it was like $18,000.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And so, we got strangers to believe in it. And then we were getting our peppers initially from a local food distributor. And, we were small potatoes. I mean, they probably threw out more peppers than we were ordering, all year. And so one of the ladies who worked there talked to a local farmer, and that farmer reached out to us and said, hey, I've planted everything that you order from them. Why don't you just order straight from me?
Oh, wow.
And,
yeah.
I mean, it was a real tearful moment because, here's this guy who's, picking the peppers and doing all that. We basically cut all the markup on our product, out. And then after that, he was, we're buying peppers as much as we could, but we didn't have a lot of money. So, he was finally like, look, just take what you need and just pay me by spring. And that, that kind of spit and handshake deal and having someone believe in you and all that, I realized that, I'm not the only one who thinks that this is going to make it. So that was a huge turning point. Yeah. There was no going back to that.
And I mean, I think the part about that too, which obviously I wasn't there, but sometimes people look at that as, like, oh, it was a lucky break. And it's like, well, it was a lucky break that was the payoff of a lot of hard work that other people saw, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes,
I mean, I've been buying peppers for a while.
yeah,
And always and was always appreciative and all that. And so, yeah, it really, yeah. To this day, it's still. I mean, we still get peppers from the same guy, and when I talk about, I hope one day to be rich and living in Hawaii. Well, that he's coming along too.
Yeah.
You remember all the people who helped you out.
Yeah.
And all that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's got to be such a powerful thing just for your brand and your story too, right? Because you're like, hey, these are literally everything we do here is sourced here from the Smokies, from local farmers. I mean, that just has to be a powerful part of your marketing and your brand.
Yeah.
Well, I think the biggest, it was interesting. I did did some kind of class this past summer, and we were talking about the different things about your brand that set you apart. And I said, well, the fact that we source our peppers locally. And the guy said, but somebody in Washington's not going to care about you purchasing your peppers locally. And I said, but the difference being, because we do that, we literally pick them up within 24 hours of them being picked, and they get dehydrated immediately, which really locks in the freshness. Whereas most companies don't do that. Mm-hmm. There is like an 11. We heard one place that there are, with a lot of spices, they usually pass through 11 different sets of hands, and that's from maybe a farmer being overseas to the person who is finding all these farms and these spices, going into the warehouse and then shipping them and
selling
then
it to this guy, selling it to that guy, putting it on a.
Gotcha.
Whereas for us, it's literally from the farm to us and into the bottle into your hands.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not to debate things, but I think that actually, I mean, I love that it comes right from a farmer at source. And I think there's a lot of people that do, because people want to know, the farmer's getting taken care of. He's getting,
right.
He's getting he's getting paid a fair wage. You guys are, cutting out the middlemen, doing something. I think it's a beautiful part of the story. I think it's just really, really cool.
Yeah.
That you guys do that. That's awesome.
The spice category is like the last, like if you go to the grocery store, it's like the last segment where, like everyone's like, oh, where'd my seafood come from? Where'd my cow come from?
Right.
Where'd the vegetables come from? But they'll go buy a bottle of cream of tartar or oregano and not think twice about it. Like, oh, here it is. And so that farm to table or knowing where its items sourced, aside from salt, really hasn't hit the spice category yet.
Gotcha.
And
that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So we were kind of, ahead of the curve, I will say accidentally.
And, and when you research crushed red chili flakes, when you research the origins, most of them are whatever is the cheapest red pepper at the time. I mean, It's got some, there's bell pepper in there. I mean, you never know, what kind of blend it is. With us, there is a specific pepper, a specific blend. There's 5 different peppers in each of our blends, and it's a recipe, so it's got its own flavor.
Yeah, it's not this little Frankenstein creation. Oh, this was
Franken peppers.
Hey,
right.
it's the name on the jar. Who cares?
Yeah. So. I think I do want to know. I am going to ask now next time I'm at the grocery store if my turmeric is ethically sourced or not. I'm going to ask the grocer for sure.
I will say I feel unethically treated by myself sometimes. It's like, oh God, I need a day off.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, so in the next episode, I am really excited to dive into a little bit more of like how you guys developed the recipe, how you guys did break into certain grocery stores, and kind of get some of those pieces of business research and wisdom that not all of our listeners are red pepper flake innovators, right? So some of those business wisdom pieces that go beyond that. But to just kind of touch on that a little bit, to tease for next episode, I wanted to get a little bit of wisdom from you guys on the business side. What, when you guys were looking at scaling your business, what was probably the first thing that you're like, hey, we have to outsource this thing because that's just taking up way too much more time?
The first person we hired was an accountant.
Yep.
Well, honestly, I mean, the first person, I mean, really, not that we ever did it, but the outsourcing would be the growing of the peppers. Because we have people all the time ask us, "Oh, you grow the peppers and produce it?" And it's like, no, like that's it takes us every bit of time just to produce what we're doing.
I mean, it's a lot of work drying peppers. And, I mean,
Yeah.
I could go to a Occupy Wall Street rally and get maced and be like, "Oh, those are fresh."
Well,
You're
what
the
it's like
riot,
working
you're,
at
you're the riot police's nightmare. They're like, we keep
Yeah.
we keep pepper spraying this guy. He keeps asking for a second round.
Yeah.
You better get some rubber bullets.
Right?
That little that's not doing it. Yeah.
Like you got nothing on this pepper spray.
We have had, our we do have a third business partner. He's actually the broker I was telling you about that we met in 2017. But he kept asking about, for a little while, was asking about co-packing. And why don't we send them off to co-pack? And I said, because number one, it's quality control. For us, we're not going to source our peppers anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to buy dried peppers and have them shipped over to the co-packer. We're not going to send it over to the co-packer and have them, the stories I've read of products that have been, with their nightmare co-packing stories and how the recipes weren't met and the, for us, it's quality control. It's consistency.
Well, too,
in our product.
It's one of those things like, what we're for is, having that relationship with the farmer and seeing the product from beginning to end. And a lot of people, when they, have their own spice business or rub or whatever, they're all ordering a lot of times from the same, generic food distributor that sells, crushed garlic powder or whatever.
Right.
And they just mix it up, where, I mean, I hate the term maker because it's thrown around so much, but, we do make our product and there's a care in that, I hope people can taste because, we certainly put it in there.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
Which that kind of answered my my next piece of wisdom I wanted to get out, which was what were some of the things that you knew you couldn't outsource, and I take it that start to finish care is one of those things.
Yeah,
absolutely.
One thing we did outsource, it was the greatest thing ever. Is so we get the peppers, and every pepper has a little stem on it, and so we would de-stem all the peppers by hand. And, over 7 years, that's, hundreds of thousands of peppers. And, it was a lot of work, a bushel of habaneros, and that's 1,200 peppers right there, give or take. And so, we watch
counted.
Yeah. Yeah. We'd watch TV and de-stem peppers and talk about, our fantasy machine that we'd buy one day. So,
that's an amazing date night. That's a good date night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Corvette now, rather of a pepper destemmer, So one day I'm picking up the peppers from my farmer, and he's asking, so you just throw them in the dryer, like it, in the processor, and I'm like, no. Now I've got to destem them all first. And he's like, really? Well, I could destem them. And I was like, well, what did that cost? So he throws out a price, and, I know better now than to say, yeah, right away before running it up the flagpole to my wife. So, so I come home and, I'm trying to keep it together, and I'm like, yeah, our farmer said that he could destem them all our peppers for this price. And she's like, did you say yes? And I'm like, I was going to ask you first. She's like, oh, tell me yeah.
Before he changes his mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of the end of it. Now he, his workers destem them as they're picking them. And,
oh, wow.
They're making more money, and it saved us an unbelievable amount of time. And it's those little kind of things that get you along. Okay, I've made it to the next level. Now I can figure out, what I got to play here before I go, on to the next thing. But,
Yeah.
it keeps you going.
Now during
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
period of time where you were destemming, did people issue warnings like, "Hey, if the Verdens invite you over for a movie night, just say no. They're gonna just give you a like they're gonna be like, hey, we
Yeah.
picked a 4-hour movie. Here's 2 bushels of peppers. Let's
When we started, it was in our kitchen, and so we had an open concept house. So we'd have like 3 Cabela's dehydrators with habaneros, and we're watching TV with like tears running down our face.
We would shove a towel under the door of the bedroom.
Yeah.
So when we went to sleep, when you came out the next morning, the
it was
whole
like
house
getting
was
punched
like,
in the face.
yeah.
Yeah, it was like, So
And
then
that's one of the things. I mean, we were doing that, and then in 2014, realized quickly that if we wanted, one of the things that we really did right was immediately in planning and doing our research, knew that we want to make this a national brand. So in doing that, all the decisions that we made were based around the fact that we wanted to make it a national brand. So we knew immediately that we had to have a certified kitchen to be able to be inspected, to be able to sell it to grocery stores. Mm-hmm. And so within 2014, while we were finishing our other job, that summer, we built a building next to our house that was about 250 square feet, and that was the first facility.
It was like a room with a roof.
Yeah.
When she was,
Yeah.
But it allowed us to get the dehydrators out of the house, which saved our marriage.
That was huge. And I will say, we haven't mentioned it before, but the state of Tennessee has a Made in Tennessee program, and where they promote local Tennessee-made products, and they put people like producers and sellers and stuff together, and that made a huge difference as far as introducing us to grocery stores and stuff like that, and it's called the Pick Tennessee program.
Okay,
and that helped quite a bit.
Right. Well, any of our Tennessee listeners, there you go. If you haven't looked into that, we will definitely, go do that. That is your homework.
So just real quick, I want to go back to the outsourcing question. And you said the first thing you outsourced was your accounting. Like, why was that? Right. For all of our entrepreneur listeners, why did you decide to outsource that? At a high level.
Because that is not my strong point.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not my husband's strong point.
I'm a cash under the mattress kind of person.
I mean, just and thinking about what we're bringing to the table and knowledge that we have and what we're good at. There are so many things that we are good at, but bookkeeping is just not my. I mean, I can do it. Do I want to? No. I tend to probably slack a little bit more with it, which is why I said, the first person that we hire is a bookkeeper.
Yeah, you just have to really like know what you're good at.
Yeah.
And know what you can do. I mean, I do plenty of things that I'm really bad at, but I can live with the results.
And I tell people, I mean, we've had a bookkeeper now, an accountant for an accounting company who does our taxes, CPA. We've had them now for 3 years, and every January, I just take a sigh of relief, and it's like, gosh, I'm so happy we did that because I don't have to figure all this crap out. It's I mean, they've got the numbers. I mean, we just kind of go through and clean everything up and make sure it's where it's supposed to be, and then the next thing I know, the taxes are done, and it's like, wow, like that. It just for years. I mean, I was doing all of our stuff, and it was a huge load off my shoulders to be able to put my time and energy into doing something else that I'm good at.
And the tax thing is also another stress point, because it's not just like, hey, if I make a mistake and we just don't save as much money on taxes, that's one thing I can live with. But if I make a mistake and I make the IRS mad, that's an enemy I just don't want. Right? Like that's a big no-no.
Yeah, I mean, because
the food business, there's a lot of regulations and inspections by Tennessee Department of Ag and USDA, and I mean there's a lot of paperwork and stuff like that.
Sure.
So anything that you can have someone who enjoys doing that kind of stuff too, you're better off. It's not.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Got enough on our plate.
Yeah,
Right.
it's just no shame in having someone else do your taxes, especially if they're better at it.
So for all of our entrepreneurs out there listening, outsource the things that you're not good at when you can afford to do it, or maybe when you can't, because it's just probably costing you more money than you're gonna save.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Stick with your strengths. Absolutely. So kind of last thing before we get to the speed round is, why do you think people are kind of hesitant to not chase that thing down, right? I mean, your probably original concept, you're like, we should start a crushed chili pepper company. If you say it out loud, probably in a grocery store, people think you're nuts. But why do you think people hesitate doing that? And you were like, no, this is actually a good thing. Was it because you did market research, or, kind of what gets people over the hump?
I think a lot of, this is weird to say, but a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people that I know that have started their own small businesses or like something like what we're doing tend to have a mindset that's a little more optimistic, a little more positive.
Sure.
And I think the people that tend to talk about wanting to do stuff and don't ever do it, I hear a lot of negative talk coming out of their mouth. Whether it's, we don't have enough money, or I can't quit my job and lose my insurance. Because there's ways to get insurance nowadays,
Yep.
You can work more.
Well, and there's, I think it's a mindset. I really do. I think it takes kind of having a positive outlook and just, maybe it's more positive than,
I think, this is going to sound like cruel, but it's like when you start a small business or something, there's a good portion of it for a while that's going to suck. Like it's a lot of work. Like you're working all the time. You've got all these balls in the air. You're like got to figure out where you've got to get money to pay people and stuff like that. And I think like some people just know like, that's just not me. Like there's something to be said for working for someone and like at the end of the day, you get your paycheck and go home and you don't worry about it. But
absolutely.
You own your own business, it comes home with you. Mm-hmm. So you just have to have that personality.
Yeah. Especially when you're with your spouse, the term pillow talk takes on a whole different new meaning. You're like, you're talking chili peppers and accounting and all kinds of exciting stuff.
And burying your face in the pillow to keep the habanero dehydrator air out of your eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
20 years married, and we've worked every job together, including starting 2 businesses. So
that is awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, I think you guys should go into marriage counseling next. If you can do that, you guys are like the experts. That should be your next book to write.
I tell people that every year that we're married is more like a 5 years of a regular marriage.
It's like,
that's awesome.
I know there's the golden anniversary, then there's 70. So 20 years, that put you at like 5. That put you at the 100-year anniversary. There you go.
Yeah.
I think he has to name a planet after me or something.
Yeah.
Pluto's
a planet.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome.
Well, awesome.
Well, perfect. I think we'll kind of go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say we'll go into our quick speed round here and wrap up this episode. Next episode, we are going to talk a little bit more about the tangible steps of scaling up a business, doing the research, and some of those practical steps, which I am very excited about. Perfect. Well, hey, going into the speed round, so we got 2 kind of business-related questions and then 2 non-business-related questions. First one is, if you were to go back and give your 8-year-old self some advice, what would that be?
I probably would have waited to go to college. That's, like, hey, just because you got accepted doesn't mean you have to go, until I really figured out what I wanted to do. That would have saved myself quite a bit of cash.
Yeah. It wasn't the advice of, if you meet somebody on the Appalachian Trail, just run or anything like that.
Unless it's Sasquatch, take his picture.
Yeah, get his picture. Exactly. Yeah. No, that's good. Why would you not go to college? Just Chris?
Well,
not necessarily not go to college, but take a
right.
gap year.
Gap year. Yeah, gotcha.
I don't know. I just didn't have the discipline or, to really to make it work. Honestly,
Gotcha.
I learned more waiting tables than anything else in the world. I mean, that for me, that was college.
Yeah.
I probably would say the same thing. I changed my major 3 times and still running businesses, not using anything that I studied in school.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't have nothing but good things to say about the restaurant industry as far as like character development and stuff like that. It's hard, but you learn a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just curious, what did you guys both major in?
I was a creative drawing major at art school. That paid off.
I started in journalism and then switched over to social environmental sociology, and then ended up in social work.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah. That was classic, Chris. That was good. That was funny.
Who would have thought?
Well, hey, at least you were able to draw your logo, so that kind of paid off, right?
No, we farmed that out too.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah, heck, if I was good at it, I probably would have been doing that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, Josh,
right.
you want to take the next one?
Yeah, I'll take the next one. So, this is both of you can answer, or one of you, but what misconception about owning your own business and entrepreneurship do you think the public has? Kind of what's the big thing people get wrong?
Oh, just that you have more free time than you do. Like, people are like, oh, you own your own business. You must really be killing it. Or you're on, a grocery store shelf. And it's like, no, still got a long ways to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is just the beginning. But
yeah.
People think, they initially see your storefront or whatever and just assume that you must be more successful than you might be at that point. Not say you're not going to get there, but people tend to. It's kind of nice. People give you the benefit of the doubt. Just assume, oh, you own your own business, you're successful.
Yeah, I mean, they could just assume like, oh, your guys' business is failing and you have nothing to do. That like that.
It's like 70% of restaurants fail. It's like that's kind of normal.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Which some of that might come into when because I know sometimes it's like, oh, well, you did your grocery shopping at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday. You must just not work. It's like, well, no. I can get my grocery shopping done in 30 minutes there, so I can work more later.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm spying on you because you're in the spice aisle. So,
yeah.
like, why didn't you buy that?
Hey, by the way, I know if I'm at the grocery store and there's somebody creepily staring at me when I'm in the spice aisle, I'll know who it is now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how much you can learn about people by watching how they shop.
So we've got marriage counseling. We've got you can probably make mace, and then now we'll have a private investigator. Those are your next three your next three businesses.
Yeah.
Yep.
Olde Virden self-defense spray.
Yeah. Yes, that's awesome. Okay, all right, go. You take the next one.
Okay, so non-business related. I did pick up from Allyson on a previous phone call that you guys are extensive travelers. If you had flights to anywhere leaving tomorrow, where are you guys going and why?
Tahiti.
Tahiti? Why would you want to go to Tahiti? No, isn't that a miserable place?
We went to New Zealand in 2003, and we had the option of you had to stop in Tahiti for the plane to refuel, and you had an option to pay like $100 extra, and you could stay there for like another week if you wanted to. And we were like, nah, let's just get on to New Zealand. Yeah. And when we got off that plane, and that smell of like beach and orchids, and you had these guys playing music in this what was like a open air airport that was beautiful and just lots of regret.
Yeah, tears were in my eyes. They're like, okay, get back in the can. We just wanted you to get out and realize your mistake.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Yeah.
And I mean, since 2003, I mean, one of the biggest regrets we've had traveling is that we didn't spend some time in.
Did you spend that $100 that you saved wisely?
Probably on beer.
Yeah. I could have. You guys, did it almost ruin your whole New Zealand trip? Because you're like, we could have been in Tahiti. Why did we do that? Like, this is terrible choice.
Just as beautiful.
Yeah.
No.
New Zealand, we talked about having scenery fatigue. You know, the whole country's so beautiful.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, another 1,000-foot waterfall. Guess I should take a picture of it. You know, I mean,
Chris would be like, hey, take a picture of that. And I'm like, we've already seen something like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Water.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Nice. It is kind of funny when you travel a lot. I remember when I was in Europe, in Italy especially, and you're like traveling around doing tours, and you're like, oh, another old church with some other famous person buried in it with an amazing fresco painted over the top of it. Cool. What's next? And then when you get home, you're like, oh my gosh, why did I take that for granted?
Well, absolutely.
I take it I'm the least traveled person on the podcast here, but I have been to the Corn Palace in South Dakota. So thank you, Mom and Dad, for swinging us by the Corn Palace out of the way by 45 minutes, and it's not even made of corn. But I'm still bitter about that.
Well, you will not have that regret that you missed it.
Yeah. All right. So for both of you, if anyone comes to visit Knoxville, where's the best local place to go and eat? And kind of give me one Knoxville area, and then how about in the Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, that area up there?
Knoxville, I'd say pizza is Adopo Pizza.
Okay.
Also, Thai food is Tuk Tuk Thai Fusion, or Sticky Rice Cafe is another one.
Yeah, Laotian food.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You're right.
I took your advice on the Tuk Tuk Thai. I got that last week. And like any Thai food, I was like this. It was amazing. It was amazing. I dumped it out on the plate and I was like, this is so much food. Like for what I paid, this is definitely at least 2 meals. And then I ate the whole thing. So.
Yeah, I always get
I mean, like with Thai food, that's how it always goes. I'm just like, there's no way I can finish this, and then it's just like, okay, one more bite. Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah. Yes. All right. So how about in the Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, Sevierville area, up in the Smokies?
In Pigeon Forge, there's a restaurant called
Wild
Bear Tavern.
Okay.
Wild Bear Tavern, and it's a German restaurant, and it is freaking phenomenal.
Okay.
Super good.
And it's just a weird, like a lot of people just drop by it and don't even know it's there. So.
All right.
Love it.
Go.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. How about in Gatlinburg?
In Gatlinburg? Best Italian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Perfect. We're accumulating our list here.
Yeah, those were very selfish questions, by the way. I want someplace to go eat. So,
but in all fairness, we do ask that for basically all of our guests. So we're just accumulating a list for anytime we travel anywhere. So
yeah, if you need recommendations, let us know. If you go to Hong Kong, we know some great dim sum places that we got recommended too. So
yes, and apparently Cleveland has top notch sushi because of all the Toyota or the Japanese car places that have headquarters there.
Yeah.
We had a guy from Cleveland who's just like, dude, it's like flown in fresh every day. Some of the best sushi I've ever had. And I've been to Tokyo or been to Japan. It's like, I would have never pegged Cleveland as a,
sushi hotspot.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Well, thank you so much for being on. We're really excited about the next episode too, and getting into the business side of things. Real quick, where can people find Olde Virdens and how can they follow you on social media?
So we are on Instagram and Facebook. Olde Virdens Old _Virdens is on Instagram. And then Olde Virdens, Facebook is just at Olde Virdens. We have an online store. We're in Amazon, and we're in over 450 stores nationwide. So check out our retail location on our website. It'll tell you. It'll tell you where if there's a place local to you. And don't forget when you're typing in oldverdens.com, it's OLDE. we're fancy.
Yes.
So for
Very fancy.
as always, all links to these sites and to these social media pages will be in the show notes. So if you do want to go find them, just click the description of this podcast, and we will have links to Amazon and their website and everything there. So
just I literally have, there you can see I literally have it up right now. Should I just order all 3 of them and just do it? Because we love chili peppers on the pizza. So should I just get all 3 of them?
Yeah, there's do you have the Tennessee jerk is our hottest, the
Okay.
spicy verde is our mildest, and the red hot is our medium.
Okay.
I mean the spicy verde, I mean it's got habaneros in it, so it's still gonna have some heat, but
Yeah. Well, all 3 of them are going in the cart immediately and hopefully delivered shortly. So
awesome.
perfect. I love it.
I'll go check this out now.
perfect. Well, thank you so much. It was super, super awesome hearing your guys' story, and the crazy life of the spice chili pepper and spice company. Real quick disclaimer for our listeners: nothing we say here can be taken as tax, legal, or financial advice. So, if anything did spark your interest, though this was about peppers, not about finances. Still, go talk to your attorney, your CPA, your financial counsel before making any decisions. And again, if you need any direction, you can always contact us. We can always kind of give you a breakdown and point you in the right direction. So, Allyson, Chris, thank you again so much for being on, and we cannot wait to have you on for part 2.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.